want to welcome you all here today. We've got a great turnout, and I know there's probably more people to come later on. I want to welcome our Minister for Health, Leo Varadkar, who I think, you know, it's very tough to get a minister to attend an event like this because it's a busy time of year, and we really appreciate your time today and appreciate the efforts you've made to listen to us, in particular to listen to our patient representatives. And I know Paul Carey is going to represent that very well next after I speak, because that's what eibhlin is all about. We're about putting the patient in the centre of decisions that are made in health and decisions that are made in policy affecting access to and development of new and innovative therapies. And for the last 8 years in my job, I focused very much, and within eibhlin and the directors, we focus very much on medicines and access to medicines and clinical trials and health technology assessments and patients' involvement in that. And we've trained our patient representatives, and our patient representatives are leaders. They're the leaders in their field. And we've trained them in how to interact with agencies like the Irish Medicines Board and like HICWA and like the NCPE, so that we can really have an input into decisions that are made. But this is a perfect example of where we can really start from the very beginning of the process, because pharmaceutical companies at the minute are talking about patient involvement in clinical research and research before trials even start, before research even happens. But that's new thinking. In terms of connected health and what we can do, whether it be apps or whether it be health information, we can do that right now, and we're going to try and attempt to do that today, because we've got 5 patient representatives from 5 different organisations, and they're all sitting up here in the front row ready to go later on to talk about the issues that they face within their journey representing people with serious conditions and what would really help them, because you're not always looking for a cure. Sometimes you're just looking to live your life and look at ways that can help you do that. So whether that be better access to information, or whether that be apps that remind you to take your treatment, or whether it be apps that help you collect the information that's useful to your clinician to diagnose what needs to happen next in your care pathway. These are all things that can help us hugely in our work in terms of making sure that people with chronic conditions can live a more enriched life, and that's what today is about. And I really see this as a model, because eibhlin is involved in a European consortium called the European Platform for Therapeutic Innovation, and it's a €10 million project by the European Commission and industry to look at training the public and patients about medicines development, so that we can all be involved in defining what research should look like, coming up with those research questions. But today, I think, is what we're doing. That's what we're going to do, and the patients are going to lead on that. It would be remiss of me not to thank UCD and Brian Caulfield and Nicola Montford and the team in UCD who've been very involved with eibhlin. And we started this journey first when we started talking about drugs. We were talking about compliance and adherence and the importance for patients to comply and adhere to their treatment. And I always remember Paul Carey at one of our events saying, you don't always know when we're complying or adhering to our treatment because we don't tell you the truth. And in terms of clinicians, that happens. And I'll always remember that story from Paul. His doctor kept upping his dose because nothing was happening. The reason nothing was happening is Paul wasn't taking his treatment. And that communication channel, again, that's another. We started to talk about this with Brian in terms of what are the technologies that are out there that can help with that communication between the clinician and the patient day to day. And I suppose that's how we all ended up here, and we've interacted with Sean Mulvaney from Enterprise Ireland. And hopefully, at the end of the day, Enterprise Ireland are going to look at giving a commercial feasibility grant to the winning problem and the winning solution. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about that today. I'm conscious of time, and I want to introduce the next speaker, who is Paul Carey. And Paul is a patient with Parkinson's disease, and a lot of you will know Paul very well from our work in eibhlin. He was diagnosed with the disease at the age of 62, and 5 years after the diagnosis, Paul discovered Move for Parkinson's, which is a patient organisation, and Mags Mullarney is the chairperson who's sitting in the front row here, and they're just an inspiring group. Because what they've done is they don't just look at the condition and the treatment that patients need to take, but they look at your life. And when you're diagnosed with something that's chronically debilitating, it has an impact on your psychology as well as your physical being. And I think some of the things you've done, and I've witnessed the set dancing club, which was set up by Move for Parkinson's, where patients and their families are involved in that, and the choir are going to going to sing to us later on today. And the whole point of that is to recognise that patient groups aren't just there to raise money and to provide services. We're also there to provide help for people to really learn how to live with their condition. And there's lots more patient organisations in the room, and I'm looking at their leaders who do exactly the same thing. And I'm very glad, Minister, that you're here today to hear this.